Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
This week, on Days of Our Mercedes, the Silver Arrows escaped certain death in Bahrain by escaping with a podium after both the Red Bulls of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez suffered late engine failures in the closing laps at Bahrain. Of course, Mercedes responded to these engine failures on Twitter by saying, quote, "You love to see it." Yes, the Mercedes-Red Bull rivalry is still very strong to this day. Even though they got ahead of Mercedes-Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship, there is still a lot of work to be done with the Silver Arrows. And also, during the parade before that race, Lewis Hamilton also had to leave that parade to go to pull Lamar Jackson and go take a massive shit, man. You can't even hate on the man for that, man. He's like everyone's body's on a schedule. Like, when you gotta go, you gotta go. And there's nothing more refreshing than the feeling in your body after you spend 15 minutes on the John. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton's 15 minutes of pulling a Lamar Jackson and going to the John to take a massive dump, it ended up working out well for him, as he was able to nab a podium. But yeah, also it is very clear early on that the Ferraris are clearly the car to beat. So of course, a lot of this season, the transition now heads towards Saudi Arabia. A race that was pretty controversial last year for the Silver Arrows. A race that was also a complete shit show. And of course, it ended with controversy, and as it was the pre-ultimate race to the season finale at Abu Dhabi, when Verstappen would brake check Hamilton. And then Hamilton ran into the back of him. And then Verstappen would get 2-time penalties, as the Silver Arrows won that race. But throughout practice, it was very clear the Mercedes were struggling this year. And also we had the very controversial event of a missile striking an Aramco oil plant, which Aramco was a sponsor for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And that oil plant was 6 miles away from the track. So then now, the safety of the drivers was at risk, and now the question was, would F1 still race at this track? Well, still race in Saudi Arabia despite that? Well, the team owners voted that they should continue to race there, including Mercedes boss Toto Wolff. And of course, the drivers also voted on it too. One of the drivers not present in that meeting was Sebastian Vettel, as Vettel was still out from complications from the plague, so Hulkenberg was still in to take another race. But yeah, after 4 hours of meetings and deliberation, the drivers decided that the race would go on. And Toto Wolff would then go on and saying that they probably shouldn't race in Saudi Arabia. But given that buildings get struck by missiles and blown up all the time, that it is perfectly normal to race under these conditions. And then saying that the Jeddah circuit is the safest place to be in Saudi Arabia. What? Someone make sense of that to me. But to be perfectly honest, this whole thing here just makes the FIA look like massive fucking hypocrites, because we're not going to race in Russia because of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and now whole conflict is taking place in Kyiv, Ukraine, not even remotely close to Sochi. And yet, when buildings in Saudi Arabia are getting struck by missiles, we're still going to race there. Like, this whole thing is fucking hypocritical. Like, if we're gonna still race at Saudi Arabia while buildings are being struck by missiles, then you might as well put the Russian Grand Prix back on the track, on the schedule. Because now now taking Russia off the schedule while it's still racing in Saudi Arabia, not only does this make the FIA look like massive hypocrites, it just shows that FIA is jumping on the Russia cancel culture bandwagon. Like, this is just a terrible situation for the FIA. But of course, throughout qualifying though, we would have a big shock in qualifying. As for the first time since Brazil 2017, Lewis Hamilton was knocked out of the first round of qualifying as he qualified in 16th. Oh my god. Hamilton is human. Good. Hamilton and Mercedes are human. Good. It means that when they fucking fall apart, no one will feel sorry for them. I mean, with how much they dominate the sport and how much they've whined so far, they deserve to be shit for a while. And Russell would go on to qualify 5th. Of course, in Q2, we would have the big scary moment with Mick Schumacher, as he ended up having a hard crash. And he was forced to sit out for safety reasons. But yeah, anyway, now on to the race. So, the race in Saudi Arabia, which looked like it was probably going to be a shit show. The first half of the race was very tame. As the first half, it was dominated by Sergio Perez from Red Bull, as Perez finally got his first career pole in F1. Right ahead of Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and Max Verstappen. And George Russell would qualify 5th for the Silver Arrows. And Russell would run around that spot for much of the race. While Hamilton would have a lot of work to do after having to start near the back of the field in 16th. But the first half of this race, Sergio Perez had the car to beat, until it was pit stop time when Ferrari would then execute the great Ferrari master plan. As Ferrari would look like they were coming to pit, but it ended up being just a genjutsu, as they did that tactic to get Perez to pit early, which meant Leclerc and Sainz and Verstappen stayed out. And shortly after Perez pitted, we'd have the racing gods throw a plot twist by having Nicholas Latifi crash into the wall. Is that Latifi? Yes, it is. Since Latifi is now the new Glock. Yeah, is that Latifi is now the new Glock. When that incident would force a safety car. And under that safety car, all Leclerc, Verstappen, and Sainz would all pit and would all remain ahead of Perez. So Sergio Perez, and within a few laps, he went from being a surefire looked like having a surefire win, ends up being knocked right out of the podium. So then after that, we would get a classic battle between Verstappen and Leclerc. Meanwhile, in all this, Lewis Hamilton slowly works his way up inside the top 10, even going up to 6th, as Hamilton hadn't stopped yet since Hamilton chose to start on the hard tires, which meant he could go a lot longer before he had to pit. But throughout much of the second half, it looked like Leclerc had it in the bag with Verstappen, holding around a 1.5-second gap between him and Verstappen. But in the end, the racing gods late in the race would throw another plot twist, as with 9 to go, we would have this sequence of events in Saudi Arabia, where we would have first Fernando Alonso would lose his engine, and then a few seconds later, Daniel Ricciardo would lose his engine, and Ricciardo's car would stall on the track right at the entrance of pit lane. And also during that entire sequence, while that was all happening, Valtteri Bottas will also come down pit lane to retire from the race. I also should have mentioned that that Yuki Tsunoda did not start this race after having a drivetrain issue during the warm-up lap. But yeah. So yeah, we had 3 engine failures within a 1 lap of each other. And the Ricciardo and Alonso engines would force a virtual safety car. And of course, this virtual safety car came a complete disaster, because right as that car was coming out, the Hamilton and the Silver Arrows were looking to pit Hamilton. One problem: when they brought the virtual safety car out, they would close pit lane, which meant Hamilton had to stay out. And that virtual safety car would also close the gap between Leclerc and Verstappen, which meant for the finish of this race, we were going to get an epic battle between Verstappen and Leclerc. We were going to get another follow-up to their epic tilt in Bahrain. We were going to get the next part of this new great rivalry coming in of great racing. But yeah, after the virtual safety car ended, Hamilton would then finally pit for mediums. So all that track position he gained on strategy went out the window, as that virtual safety car came to his disadvantage, just because of where Ricciardo stalled on the track. So yeah, Hamilton would end up falling all the way to 12th, but Hamilton would still have enough few laps to try and gain something out of this terrible situation. Meanwhile, up front, Verstappen and Leclerc would go toe-to-toe and battle each other. Leclerc had the better car in Sector 1, but Verstappen was faster everywhere else on the track. Like, Leclerc had the speed in the turns, but Verstappen was faster on the straightaways. But then with 3 to go, after much battling and back and forth between the two. Verstappen would finally get past Leclerc for good, with 3 to go. And despite Leclerc's best efforts in the closing laps, it still was not enough to beat Verstappen. And even despite a caution on the closing laps for Alex Albon wrecking out after he made contact with Sir Lancelot Stroll, it was still not enough to get past Verstappen. And Verstappen would hold off a late charge from Leclerc, and Max Verstappen, the reigning F1 world champion, finally gets his first win of the season. And since this win felt right, and that there was no bullshit from the FIA from this finish, it's been a while since we had to do it, but you all know what a Verstappen win means. Hit the music. So yeah, Max Verstappen got the win, and Verstappen announces his official bid for the championship. While Leclerc, he continues to build on his championship lead with a second place finish and getting the bonus point for fastest lap. And Carlos Sainz also rounds out the podium, proving that Ferrari truly is the top team right now. And George Russell would finish the highest finisher for the Mercedes game in 5th. So yeah, Mercedes isn't as good as the points may say. They're only ahead of Red Bull just because of the reliability issues in Bahrain. And Lewis Hamilton, he would end up finishing all the way in 10th. Seriously, Hamilton, after all that track position you lost and on that much advantage of fresher tires, you can only get 10th? You're fucking pathetic. Hell, Lewis Hamilton's arrogance might have reached a new high. Because after the race, Hamilton, his arrogance is so high, he didn't even know you get 1 point for finishing in 10th. Lewis, you've been in F1 for how many years? How do you not know the points format? And for any Hamilton fans that have the same arrogance level as Hamilton, I will gladly show all the F1 points formats on the screen. The one at the very bottom is the current format F1 uses right now, which is pretty much the same as the one they introduced in 2010. Just in 2019, they introduced a bonus point for fastest lap if you finished in the top 10. But yeah, Hamilton, you've been in F1 for how many years and you don't know the points format? Especially every year under this current format? Fuck out of here. That just shows the amount of arrogance Hamilton has is unbelievable here. Then again, do you honestly blame Hamilton since he wins all the goddamn time? And normally doesn't finish 10th. It's very rare to see Hamilton finish that low. That almost never happens. But yeah. Like, for fuck's sakes, I even did an entire series on the F1 points format in NASCAR. Just for context. Like, goddammit, it's fucking sad when I know the F1 points format better than Sir Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, maybe this race will be a shot down to earth for the Silver Arrows to maybe humble them. To see the error of their ways. But will they learn anything? Probably not. They probably need to have that championship streak snap before they can learn their error, their arrogance. But for the Silver Arrows, they'll have a week to regroup, as Australia won't be for another 2 weeks. Won't be for 2 weeks. So yeah, the Silver Arrows, they suffered a Saudi Arabian nightmare. And honestly, this was a really good race. For a time when we actually truly needed a good race. The race probably shouldn't have happened, but it did happen, and it was a really good race. I enjoyed it. But yeah, in the end though, like the sands in the hourglass, so too are the days of our Mercedes. At least I don't have to do this next week with it being an off week.